Ho Chi Minh City has an oversupply problem and a shortage problem happening at the exact same time. And that contradiction is precisely why apartments climbed 8% last year while developers sit on empty inventory. If that sounds impossible, you're reading the wrong data. So I track thousands of listings and property transactions around Southeast Asia, and I also own property in Vietnam. What's happening in Ho Chi Minh City right now is one of the clearest examples of how aggregate market data can completely mislead investors. So if you're looking at Ho Chi Minh City property and you're confused, reading headlines about oversupply, seeing prices rise crazily, and hearing about families being priced out of the market, this video will show you exactly what's happening at the segment level that explains all of it, because the story isn't necessarily oversupply, the story is missupply. And understanding the difference could save you from a very expensive mistake. So here's what most investors see when they research Ho Chi Minh City. They see an oversupply crisis, excess inventory, stalled projects, and legal bottlenecks constraining supply. And then they see the prices are up 8% year on year, and the primary market is hitting new highs, and affordable housing is near extinct. But those facts don't fit together unless you understand what's actually being built and who it's being built for, not what's being built. So let me show you the data that makes this clearer. In the first 9 months of 2025, Ho Chi Minh City launched 4,300 units, 9 months, 10 to 14, 15 million people. Now Q1 was particularly brutal. New supply dropped 70% compared to the previous quarter. Only 800 units launched. Legal procedures, project audits, delayed approvals. As for the full year 2025, it's probably about 10,000 units overall. And meaningful supply improvement isn't expected until 2027 at the earliest. So yes, supply is constrained and everyone agrees on that. But here's where it gets interesting. Those 4,300 units that were launched in the first 9 months last year, 60% of them were grade A, grade B plus luxury units. And only 13% of the new supply was actually affordable housing, what's classified as grade C, units that are under 50 million Vietnamese dong per square meter, roughly 560 units. So think about that. 560 affordable units for a city where the vast majority of local buyers need exactly that product. Now here's the kicker: absorption rates. Overall market absorption is low because luxury inventory sits and is difficult to shift, particularly when you bear in mind that 70% of the units are allocated to Vietnamese only. Developers build to maximize profit margins, but end user demand at those price points is just limited. But new projects in prime locations with clear legal documentation and affordable to mid-range pricing, much higher absorption rates. But here's the crazy part. Prices keep climbing. The primary market average is up 8% year on year. Secondary market is between 5 to 20% appreciation depending on the location. But here's the crazy thing. This time last year, some reports showed primary prices reached 120 million plus per square meter in certain segments, a 47% increase year on year. Now, partly that's because what's launching is a more expensive product. The averages rise when you stop building cheap units. But even within segments, prices are climbing and fast because the affordable units that do launch get absorbed almost immediately. So here's the big question. Why don't developers just build more affordable housing if that's where the demand is? Well, I think there's 3 reasons. One is the obvious, it's land costs. Ho Chi Minh City land prices have surged, and developers sitting on land banks want maximum return per square meter. Affordable housing means lower margins. 2 comes down to legal complexity. Every project requires multiple approvals, environmental clearances, infrastructure commitments, and of course flood zone prevention measures. So the time and cost to navigate that process is the same whether you're building affordable or luxury. So developers understandably optimize for revenue. And finally, 3, credit access. Buyers in the luxury segment often pay significant deposits up front, have better access to financial terms, or just pay the whole thing in cash. Affordable buyers are more rate sensitive and will depend on mortgage availability, so developers see less risk in the high-end buyer. So what gets built, what's profitable, is not necessarily what's needed. So here's what that created on the ground. Apartments priced below 3 billion dong, roughly 120,000 USD, accounted for just 9% of transactions in Ho Chi Minh City in the first 9 months of 2025. But in the neighboring Binh Duong province, over 60% of transactions were at that price. Binh Duong alone captures 90% of the affordable apartment sales in the entire southern region. Families aren't choosing Binh Duong because they prefer it, they're just being priced out of Ho Chi Minh City. So this isn't a choice, it's a displacement driven by missupply. And here's the feedback loop. As families move to Binh Duong, developers see even less reason to build affordable products in Ho Chi Minh City. The remaining demand in the city skews wealthier, which justifies more luxury projects. The affordable segment doesn't disappear, it just relocates. So what this means is a luxury glut. And luxury inventory just accumulates. In 2020, only 1% of new supply was affordable. 2021 to 2023, there was 0 new affordable projects. 0, nada, none. And here's the crazy part. 2024, 100% of new launches were classified as high-end. And 2025, you guessed it, the vast majority also high-end. So yes, there's a glut, but it's a luxury glut. The oversupply headlines are technically true if you look at the total unsold inventory, but they're functionally misleading you if you think that means prices will fall. Because the inventory sitting empty isn't the inventory people need. The inventory people need isn't being built. And that's how you get rising prices in an oversupplied market. So what does this mean if you're a non-Vietnamese investor looking at Ho Chi Minh City? First, be very careful about which segment you're entering. If you're buying a luxury product in a secondary location, outside the core Eastern Corridor, outside District 1, and outside other established areas, you're probably buying into a glut. The exit liquidity will be weak, and you're competing with unsold primary inventory from developers who can afford to wait longer than you can. If you're buying affordable to mid-range products in prime locations with clear legal status, strong infrastructure connectivity, and established demand nodes such as Thu Duc City near Metro Line 1 or District 7 near Phu Mai Hung, areas benefiting from the Ring Road 3 or upcoming transit, you're buying into scarcity. Absorption rates will tell you everything. And there's not speculative demand, it's the real end-user urgency. Second, you've got to understand the supply timeline. Even if legal approvals accelerate tomorrow, and there are signs that the government is trying to clear bottlenecks, you're looking at 18 to 24 months before meaningful new supply reaches the market. Land assembly, design approvals, construction timelines, pre-sale requirements, it's not fast. And remember, developers are still incentivized to build high-end. The supply relief that everyone here is waiting for might not arrive in the segment where it's really needed, which means if you're not positioning capital in Ho Chi Minh's affordable to mid-range segment in prime locations, the window isn't before prices rise. The window is before the next wave of demand hits the same constrained supply at even higher price points. Avoid the wait-and-see trap. I see investors reading oversupply headlines and thinking, I'll wait 6 months for prices to correct. You're waiting for supply in a segment that's not being built. Prices will only correct when supply exceeds demand in the same segment, not where there's an oversupply in luxury and an undersupply in affordable housing. The affordable segment's not going to correct anytime soon. It's either going to stay constrained, pushing prices higher, or it will relocate entirely to neighboring provinces where land costs still make development viable. So if you're waiting for Ho Chi Minh City affordable products to get cheaper, you're making a structural bet that land cost is going to fall and legal complexity will decrease and that developer incentives will shift towards lower margins. Personally, I wouldn't take that bet. So here's the big picture. Ho Chi Minh City has oversupply and shortage at the same time because it's building the wrong product. Too much luxury, not enough affordable. For a city where the vast majority of demand sits at the affordable to mid-range bracket, prices keep rising because the housing people can afford isn't being built, and the housing being built sits empty while families move to Binh Duong or other areas instead. This is what missupply looks like, and it's not unique to Ho Chi Minh City. You can see the various versions of this across Southeast Asia, wherever land costs, legal complexity, and developer incentives misalign with actual demand. So if you are looking at Ho Chi Minh City as a property investment, your edge is segment-level analysis. Don't read aggregate supply numbers and think you understand the market. You don't. Ask, which segment is the unit in? What's the absorption rate for the product type in this location? What's the supply pipeline for comparable units the next 24 months? If you're buying into a segment with 91% absorption and constrained supply, you are buying scarcity. But if you're buying in a segment with low absorption, high developer inventory, you're catching a falling knife. The headline numbers hide the real story. If you are a property investor looking at Southeast Asia, check out the link in the bio for our free Southeast Asia property investment guide. It covers the segment-level frameworks we use to analyze supply-demand dynamics in places like Ho Chi Minh City, Bangkok, Manila, and other major Southeast Asia markets where aggregate data misleads. I'm Alexander Linton, founder of Rumavi. We help overseas investors navigate Southeast Asia property markets by exposing structural traps and revealing structural opportunities. We don't sell properties, we provide intelligence. If you want clinical, data-driven analysis that protects your downside and sharpens your edge, follow for weekly briefings. And if you're actively researching Ho Chi Minh City right now, send me a message. Let's talk about which segments have real demand versus developer-driven oversupply. Thanks for watching.